So picture this for a second. Let's say you were really hungry, like you haven't eaten all day type of hungry, and you go out to a restaurant. You get to your table and the waitress asks what you want to eat. And you say, well, I'm pretty hungry. I'd like something that is not too filling, not too spicy, and I really just want to feel really good after I eat it. And also, I don't want it to be expensive. Just tell the chef to take a look around the kitchen and make me something like that. And now let's say that the waitress complied, right? Let's just say that she took your order and didn't make you actually look at the menu and pick something, and then the chef went about his business and actually created you something that sort of fit your criteria. In most cases, when the food comes back, you're likely going to have some requests. Maybe it was spicy, or maybe it did make you feel a little bit bloated, or maybe it was a little bit too pricey. This whole experience would lead to you, as the customer of the restaurant, sort of feeling as if no one will ever be able to make you something that you want and that you feel is a fair price. And we would likely doubt the entire restaurant industry as being the same thing, where nobody can make you something that you actually want to eat. Now, one of the hardest things for print-on-demand sellers, whether they are brand new or even if they have a lot of marketing experience under their belt, have a tough time hiring designers for their print-on-demand designs. And that's because they are treating it just like as if you were going to a restaurant and telling the chef to make you something from scratch based on something that you're not really explaining that well to them. Most people are not specific with their design requests. They do not give enough details, and they get something back that they don't really like. They then have a whole bunch of change requests, and ultimately they never really get to the design that they actually want. And honestly, in most cases, the person requesting the design does not really know what they want, so therefore they can't really explain it accurately to the designer. Now, ordering print-on-demand designs is a lot like ordering food at a restaurant, which is why I made that example. You have to tell the designer exactly what you want on it. Now, in this video, we're going to be breaking down the steps that you need to take in order to successfully hire a print-on-demand designer to make all of your designs for your print-on-demand store. Now, before we do that though, there's likely someone out there who is currently struggling to order their own food. They're getting meals back that they don't really like, and they are likely going to be too expensive, and you can help them out by clicking the like button. When you click the like button, it tells YouTube to show this video to that person, and maybe we will help them out with their ordering of their food. And also, selfishly, it does help my small channel to grow. These videos do take a while to put together, so smash that like button and help someone else to find this content. So the first step in hiring a designer actually has nothing to do with actually finding a designer. It has everything to do with figuring out what type of product you actually want to sell. Secondly, which supplier are we going to be using for this product? And this is important, extremely important, because depending on the supplier that we're using, they're likely going to have a specific design template for the product that we want to offer. Take this tumbler here, for example. If you wanted to sell this, you would have to use the design template from the Subliminator print-on-demand app. That's because there's going to be specific dimensions for the way that this design looks, and that way when you submit it to the print-on-demand supplier, they can print it accurately on the product that you chose. If you got one design made for one product and then you wanted to put it on a different product, you would actually have to make sure that you are transferring things to the new template so that way it fits correctly on your new product. A lot of times people say things to me like, Joe Robert, can I take a design that I have on a t-shirt and can I go and put that on a whole bunch of different products? The fact is, if you were selling on a t-shirt and then you wanted to put that design on a pair of shoes like this, it just wouldn't work. You'd actually have to create the design from scratch on the other template. And by now, if you're choosing products, you likely already have a niche in mind that you want to sell to. And if you don't, no worries, go check out the free mini course that I have inside of the POD Ninjas Facebook group. It will walk you through all of the strategies that I use to create winning print-on-demand products. That mini course is inside of the POD Ninjas Facebook group. So there's a link down in the description. You guys can join and you can watch that mini course there. So after we figure out which product we want to sell, we now have to go and find a designer. And as I mentioned before, In most cases, this is going to be exactly like ordering food at a restaurant. There are, however, some services out there if you'd like to work with someone in a little bit more detail where they can actually help you through all of your design ideas. There are various services out there that will provide this for you. However, they are a little bit more expensive. And in most cases, people starting out with print on demand are not going to be hiring something like this. I'm going to put one of them on the screen right now. This is Design Pickle. They offer design services. It's a little bit pricey, like I said, and you can check them out and see if you wanted to explore the options they have. And if it seems like something you want to go with, then definitely check them out. But like I said, most people are just going to be hiring designers in a la carte fashion, which essentially just means you're going to be paying them for one design at a time rather than signing up for a expensive monthly subscription to work with a designer in a one-on-one capacity. So that means in most cases, you're actually going to be hiring a freelance designer, which means you're going to be paying them on a per design basis. Essentially, you will pay them a flat rate for just one design. You'll send them a description of exactly what you want, and then they will show you a preview, and if you have any changes, in most cases, you can actually request revisions to be made. Now, there are a couple different places that you can go where you can find these freelance designers. One of the most common is simply just going to Fiverr.com. Once there in the search, you can type in print on demand designers, and you can begin to scroll through and look at all of the listings that people have put on Fiverr for their design services. Another option would be to use a service called Upwork. Now, this is going to be just like Fiverr, where people are going to be creating listings, advertising their service. If you want to sort through those as well, you definitely can. And third, you can check out designedbyninjas.com. This is a design agency that I helped to create, where essentially what we've done is put together a team of designers to create your print-on-demand designs for you. Now, another option, which is a little bit more legwork involved, is to actually go into print-on-demand Facebook groups and make a post requesting recommendations for designers. You would be surprised that oftentimes designers actually hang out inside of these print-on-demand Facebook groups looking for new clients. Once you make your post, you will likely have a whole bunch of people that reach out to you offering their services. Now, one thing to keep in mind is no matter where you are hiring a designer from, it is always important to make sure that you are vetting them. You want to make sure that they are actually a great designer and that they are not just going to send you some sort of ripped off design that they found on the internet. You can do this by requesting previous works that they have. If you're looking on Fiverr or Upwork, they will likely have a lot of this listed, and on platforms like that, you will be able to see reviews from previous clients of theirs. You can also compare the various pricing of these different designers. Typically, when it comes to hiring a print-on-demand designer on a per design basis, you can expect to pay anywhere from $10 to about $50 per print-on-demand design. Now, obviously, that range is a little bit large, and depending on the request that you are making with your design and how detailed it is and how much actual work is going to go into it, that's going to affect the price a lot. If you are requesting a design that just has a couple of clip art type icons on it with some text, that might be a little bit on the lower end. But if you wanted to get something like this, which is likely going to be a custom illustrated design, you might have to pay a little bit more. So step 2, find a designer that is within your budget, right? We've already chosen our product, and now we have a designer lined up to make our design. And this honestly is the part that a lot of people screw up. As I said before, if you're going out to a restaurant, you need to tell the waitress exactly what you want to eat. And the same is true with your new designer. We need to figure out exactly what we want them to make us. That way we can minimize revisions, minimize frustrations, and get a design that can actually sell for us. When it comes to putting together your design description, which is also called a design briefing, there are some very important things to start to think about. 4 things that you can quickly think about to break down your design in a much simpler way are going to be specific colors that are in the design, maybe specific shapes or quotes or even images. What types of things do you want in your design? And once you start to figure that out, you can use that to actually piece together your entire design description. You would want to think about how all of those different elements are arranged on your chosen product, meaning if you're selling some sort of a blanket, where do you want everything? Is there going to be something up in the corner? Is there going to be something on the hood? Or maybe you're selling a hoodie, but you're doing an all over printed hoodie. Like where are the different elements actually arranged on your product? This is going to be incredibly important because as your designer begins piecing things together, you want it to actually look good once they put all those elements on your design. Another thing that I see a lot of people struggle with sometimes is how the text on their design actually looks. Now, with every design, you don't always have to have text, but I will say most of the designs that I have sold in the past had some sort of text on them. You want to think about how the text looks. Is there any specific effects on it? The style of it? Is there a specific font that you can request from the designer to use that is going to allow you to get the design that you are looking for? Lastly, are there any examples? Can you go out and find examples of similar things that you are looking for, both in terms of an exact representation of what it is you want, in terms of specific images or shapes, or even just text effects? You can go out and you can find other things online that look similar to what you are going for, and that's going to help your designer to actually understand your vision. Basically, the more information you can send them, the better. It's going to give them more to actually work with when they are creating your design. Like I said, I have seen so many people hire a designer, get something back that they don't really like, and then sort of just assume that every single time they hire a designer, they're not going to get a good design, and they don't actually look at their description of what they want. Honestly, too, sometimes people don't even know what they want themselves, so then they have a really difficult time describing it to somebody else. So definitely make sure before you get to this step to know exactly what it is that you want. So let's recap. You first figured out what product you want to sell. That way you can actually make sure that the design is created with the correct design template. Secondly, you chose a designer that was in budget and you sent them a design brief describing exactly what it is you want. Now, in most cases, you're going to have to wait a couple of days because that designer is going to get to work on your design, and depending on where you hired the designer, they might have a different time frame, but in most cases it's just going to be a couple of days. When you first get your preview back of the design they have created, in most cases you can actually request revisions to be made. Just make sure that before you hire the designer that they do allow revisions, and in some cases they do limit the amount of revisions that you can actually make. Just make sure going into it that you're choosing someone that is going to allow you to make changes if any are needed. You would then send them the specific changes, and just like when you sent the original brief, try to be as descriptive as possible. If you're giving vague recommendations for the design, they're not going to be able to make the necessary improvements to your design, and ultimately you won't get what you want. And sometimes you're not going to have any changes at all, right? Sometimes the designer is just going to get it right on the first try, and then you're going to be able to get that design from them, upload it to your store, and begin selling it. So hopefully this all makes sense. If you guys have any other questions, definitely leave them down in the comments below. And if there are questions, maybe I'll make a follow-up video to this and maybe go in a little bit more detail. But that is basically the overview of how you go about hiring a designer. Like I said, super important to make sure you're choosing an actual product. That way they can do it on the right template for you. And then when you are requesting the design, make sure to give them as much information as possible. Hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. If you're new to print on demand, make sure to check out some of the links that I have down in the description. I have a free Shopify setup course that you guys can go through. It's over 20 step-by-step videos to help you to open your store. And like I said earlier, check out the mini course inside of the POD Ninjas Facebook group. That's it for me, folks. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.